Hey guys, it's Kaylee and I'm back today with another Plot With Me video. Unfortunately, the audio on this video is so destroyed by the sounds of traffic that I'm just completely getting rid of it. So I'm going to be doing a voiceover, so I'm going to try to follow along with what I do here as best I can. Once it gets to the actual plotting part, there's significantly less traffic, so hopefully that part will be usable, but yeah. So the first thing that I'm rolling for here is genre, and I am super excited because what I ended up getting was sci-fi. So I'm just going to roll a d6, and it's, number 4 is sci-fi, so that's how I land on my genre, and then I'm going to roll a d8 to figure out like which tropes I'm going to be using. And the first thing that I get is space exploration, which is friggin' cool. I'm very excited about that. And I'm going to try to speed through some of my horrible handwriting here because I spend way too much time writing illegibly, basically. So then I'm rolling for my next genre because I would like to do a genre mashup, and I, of course, roll sci-fi again. And then I roll horror, which is like super exciting. Sci-fi horror is one of my favorite genres. I am like a ridiculous Aliens fan. So the first thing that I rolled in horror is like evil lovers, evil partner. And I was like, nah, I'm already bored with that. Just trying to write it down. So then I ended up with, abandoned locations. Sorry, I had to like stop and look at what I'm looking at here. This is going to be rough. I'm trying to voice over something that took a lot of animation out of me. So anyway, so then I did another sci-fi trope because I just kind of wanted it to be heavy on the sci-fi, and I got AI, which is really interesting. I've never written anything with AI before. So I'm kind of excited to like plot this out and see how I feel about it. So then I'm jumping into basically like a breakdown of how I would use these tropes differently. So I have basically kind of 4 rough ideas of different ways to use these tropes, different ways these tropes can play out. And, if I was writing it, I might stick to some of them, I might not. But I'm going to pull out a D4. And so for my horror trope, my abandoned locations, I ended up getting schools or malls, which is kind of like how I see it as like one big complex building with like a lot of different little side rooms and things and back tunnels and like back ways in and out. And that's not counting like the ducting above and like maybe a basement underneath. Like I think that these could be like a really cool playground to end up in some sort of a sci-fi. So this would be like, this abandoned building is going to be on another planet where basically my characters are going through and they're meeting creatures that are very similar to us who would create a place like this. So then we were jumping into sci-fi tropes, and I got AI is used to control. So basically like I end up with 2 AIs in this, just spoiler alert there. There are 2 separate AIs here because I end up rolling AI in a different area, which is really cool. So this AI, the initial AI that we're talking about, is used to control the population. And then I'm going to roll again for space exploration, and I'm going to land on a new planet, which is really cool. So basically we're jumping into a new planet with a different kind of peoples in it, that are creating, big complex structures like a mall or a school, something like that. And these creatures are very different from us, though, and so we're going to be running into what was left by them on this, basically, it looks like an abandoned planet. Okay, so after I kind of fiddle around talking about this entirely too much of what this could possibly mean, I'm just going to give a spoiler alert right in here. I end up doing, like, they're pirates having to kind of fight with this AI that's embedded in their ship that's trying to control them, which I really, really like. So yeah, but I don't remember what I'm talking about here. I'm just waving my hands around and making noise, and I have no idea what I'm saying because my audio is that bad. It's ridiculous. So we're going to jump into the other elements of world building, like what kind of an environment was it? What kind of society? So I've got 2 societies here. I've got the society of the people that, were on the planet, and the society of the pirates. So first we're going to do environment. So it is going to be a tropical environment. So with the planet, the area that they land in the planet is going to be a tropical area. And then we're going to be going into the societies. So I'm going to have 2 different societies. And I'm lecturing about that right now, apparently. Okay, so the first thing that I get, so the first thing I got, I ended up actually not even using, which was, I rolled a 6, which is contemporary, which doesn't fit with really any of this, except for maybe, like the people that were, the planet that was destroyed could be quote unquote contemporary, but it really didn't fit. So, I ended up rolling some more, and I got, a number 7. So, and because it kept rolling, it kept giving me 7s, I ended up deciding that the mall complex was kind of part of a big city, and kind of, to try to do a play on, the like, basically this big abandoned city there, because it was, the role was small town versus big city. So I just kind of tried to adapt what I kept getting. Rolled a 7 again. Okay, so then I got a 1, which fits much better than my contemporary. So that is dystopian. So basically my pirates are from a dystopian kind of setting where they're like escaping this AI that is controlling their society, and this, which is how I ended up at pirates. That's basically like they're space pirates trying to escape this system that is controlling them with AI. And so they do have AI in their ship, but it is partially disabled to keep it from being able to control them. So that's fun. And then the basically they're going to land in a big city where all of the people have been killed. Well, they think all of the people have been killed because there's nothing there, which is fun. Kind of. Okay. And then I am going to roll for life forms. And this is where I get my secondary AI. So basically I rolled AI again. So I decided that there was going to be a secondary AI on the planet that actually was from the people who created the planet, basically. I think I actually ended up rolling, I wanted to roll twice, and the second roll that I got was witches and wizards. I was like, that's not at all, no. Like, I'm not doing that. So I just decided to kind of skip it. I was like, no, we're just going to keep with the AI. Which totally works for me. Okay, so now we're going to get into the specifics for each of these, the environment, the society, and the life forms, which means I roll a d4 for each section. So for environment, because it's a tropical, I'm going to roll a d4, and it lands on 3. So it's going to be coastal. So basically the city is built next to the coast, next to the water. And that has to play a part in the plot. Otherwise, what's the point of doing this? So that will eventually, when I'm doing the 32 scene outline, it will play a part in the plot. So then we switch to society. And so I ended up rolling for dystopian, and got cyberpunk, which I love. So what I would do is when I'm describing all of like the tech things and all of the play out of how this would work together, I would try to keep it to very cyberpunk feels. I would try to give them like, kind of a cyberpunk attitude and things like that. So it would play out more in the visuals that I would write than in the plot itself, because having them be space pirates is already dystopian and quite cyberpunk, which I freaking love. So then I am rolling for small town versus big city, and I got privilege and tech, which I'm like, okay, so I can kind of understand. So there were these original like high tech people that had a certain level of privilege. So if I bring in like survivors, I thought of this while plotting, but I'll explain it now. If I bring in survivors, they don't have that kind of tech, and so I could play with the privilege and tech, and what life is like without the tech and that kind of thing. And now I'm circling something a bazillion times. I ended up typing out what I wrote here and throwing it away, so I have no idea what I'm circling there at all. Good Lord. Yeah, this is what I get for leaving the window open. And I still end up with a motorcycle going by, so I don't know if the audio caught that, but that's what's happening here. Okay, and then we jump into life forms, and I'm rolling for the AI, so it's just another D4, and my options are bad AI, good AI, both, and user's choice, and I ended up getting both, so I ended up rolling a 3 and getting both, and I end up doing that with both of the AIs. So both the ship AI and the land AI have good and bad, but the ship AI is partially disabled and resentful that it is disabled, which is going to come into play a lot once I get to plotting. Okay, so now we're switching over to character creation. And I actually like how this ended up. I'm very happy with what I ended up with here. So my first character is a male. And what it is you roll a d6 for gender, and then you roll a d6 again for like there's a chart there of the letters of the alphabet, and it's basically d6. The first d6 tells you which line you're on, and then the next roll is which column, and it tells you which one it starts with. So I ended up getting a male whose name was B. And all I could think of with Space Pirate was like, I was thinking Robert the Bruce for some reason. And my brain did Bobby Bruce. And I ended up giving him the name Bobby, which doesn't happen yet. But so for character number 2, I'm rolling for gender here, and I ended up with non-binary. And the first letter of their name starts with an A. So I will name them, I will end up naming them Axel, which I really, really like. I actually love that for a non-binary person. I think that's fabulous. And then our third character is a trans woman, and her name will start with a D, and it's Daisy. And I just love her. In my head, I'm like, okay, I love her. I love her. I'm very excited. I'm excited about these characters. Like, if I could actually write this story, if I had time, I would write this story, because it ends up being something that I really enjoy. So here I am, I'm like fiddling around thinking about names and kind of just going, I'm also wondering if I should do character layouts for the AIs, and I decide to do it. So for the AI on the ship, AI number 1, I give them a name. It starts with I. We end up with the name Icon. And it ends up with a false belief too. So they all have... all the characters, the main characters, have different things about them that I roll for here too. But AI number 2 gets the name Tarn. Starts with a T. That's the first thing that I thought of. Sorry, coughing fit. I know I've heard the name Tarn somewhere before. Somewhere like super interesting. So I don't know if I'd actually use that name while writing, but it's fine. And then what happens is each character I end up rolling for their attachment style, a healthy coping mechanism, an unhealthy coping mechanism, whether or not they have a mental illness or divergence, and what false belief they have. And so I'm probably going to speed through this a little bit. So for Bobby, he ends up with anxious attachment, and with meaning focused, like a healthy coping mechanism is meaning focused, and his unhealthy coping mechanism is risk taking. He doesn't have any mental illness or neurodivergence, and his false belief is about the world. And then I know I'm not rolling anything here because like I'm just speeding through this because I don't want to do this anymore. Basically, I want to get to the plotting part because I'm super excited about you guys seeing that. So for our non-binary Axel, their attachment is avoidance. Their unhealthy coping mechanism is, or their healthy coping mechanism is problem solving. Their unhealthy is avoidance, which is cool. I like that I rolled that both there because that is part of their problem is avoidance. Their mental illness is CPTSD, and their false belief is about the universe and faith. And then our trans woman, her attachment style is avoidance. Her healthy coping mechanism is emotion focused. Her unhealthy is, again, avoidance, which is interesting. So I kept rolling avoidance, and I'm not sure why, but I think that having characters who are like space pirates who avoid their feelings and avoid talking about their feelings and coping with their feelings makes so much sense. So I think the dice were just kind of trying to like give me one that's really easy to play with. And then they are neurodivergent, and her false belief is about herself. So then we get to the AI, and I decided that each AI was going to also have a false belief, because I wanted to make sure that my AI had some sort of character, but it couldn't be explained by like trauma or whatnot, because I mean, I don't know. There could be trauma. I mean, definitely the surface AI has trauma because it's been abandoned and it is bat crap crazy because it's been left alone for forever. But anyway, so the icon that lives on the ship, its false belief is about the universe and faith. Oh, here I'm looking up names. That's funny. I've gotten way ahead of myself. And then AI number 2 has a false belief about the world that it lives in. So anyway, that's going to end this rolling part. Like, I'm so sorry about the audio. It just is what it is. Unfortunately, I live in a top floor apartment. It has been very hot. I thought I could film with the window open because I was sweating all over the place, and it didn't work. But we are about to jump into the next day, the next morning, and so there should be less traffic in that audio, and hopefully it'll work out. Okay, so I did not end up being able to come back at all yesterday to finish filming. Like, it was a wild day. Once again, window is open still, and it is noisy outside, and I am very sorry. It is what it is. At some point, I will pull out my microphone, and that'll help muffle it, but not this video. I just don't have time right now. Anyway, so what yesterday we had, and I ended up typing this up last night while everybody was making noise around me because there's no way I was going to film. Basically covering everything that we did yesterday, but having it be in something that I can actually read. So space exploration, new planet, AI, you guys will have just watched this, so I don't need to go over all that, but I'm excited. Okay, so where are we going to start? This is my new plotting method. These boxes are very small. I did not have a large enough piece of paper, so we're going to see how this goes. In fact, I might just write directly on it, but then I can't move things around, and I need to be able to move things around. But I do have a second sheet, so we'll see. Yeah, actually, I'm just going to write directly on it because that's fine. Okay, let me see. So they're going to a new planet. So here I would say, you know, they go and they land on this other planet. And here's where I would set up ship AI and all of my main characters. And then I guess their first choice would be to go into abandoned. I can spell complex. So like a school, a mall, somewhere with like, it's a big building with a lot of separate rooms. So they're going into this abandoned complex, and let me see. I guess what I would do next is I would have them run into surface AI. Because that is the underlying conflict. One of the underlying conflicts of this story is going to be the surface AI. And I think what the main conflict is going to be is the ship AI is designed to control them, and it's been disabled. And I think the main conflict is going to be with the ship AI. But the surface AI is going to be bat crap crazy. And so we're going to establish that right here. And yes, I just wrote bad crap crazy. So, and I think that as we go, we're going to learn more and more about the kind of surface people that are here. I think that's going to be another part of the conflict, is going to be the surface people. But I'm thinking that there's certain parts in this where we learn new things, like revelation. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump through into all of those. So revelation number 1 is how the planet died. Don't know how it died, but that's going to be their biggest revelation. And that is one of these ones where, if you watch my plotting video before, there are certain ones of these that are kind of modular that can be moved around. In fact, I'm going to mark those. So this one and this one, and I think this one, all 3 of these can kind of move around in this section. I think it's just these 2 actually, and then this one can kind of move around in this section. And then revelation, escalation, impotence, these 3 can move around in this section. And then escalation, impotence, revelation, these can also move around in this section. So it's like from here to here, section 1, all of these 2. I think it's this one. Maybe it's this one. I can't remember. I have to look at it. But I think it's all of these are modular, basically. As long as they stay within this section. And then there's this section, and this section, and this section. And this is Act 1, this is Act 3, this is basically Act 2 split into 2 parts, or 4-act structure, however you want to put it. Yeah. So, and then these kind of can move around in here. And escalation number 4 is definitely after escalation number 3, obviously, but they can kind of move in between the other scenes. So if like they figure this out way up here, it's fine. But like if I need to move it around, or I can move it to the very end here and have the escalation beforehand. So we'll figure that out as we're going, because that might be something that I want to move. Okay, so our next revelation is maybe AI. Okay, maybe whatever. I'm gonna put an apostrophe there, even though it doesn't belong there. Meet. And this starts like some major problems here, because you know the ship AI is disabled in certain ways, and the land AI is bad crap crazy. So they're gonna get together. They're gonna get to know each other. And I think maybe escalation here is AI on ship fixed by AI on land. And so that will lead to a whole bunch of problems over here. What else? Okay, so we've had figure out how the planet dies, the AIs meet. Revelation number 3 would probably be some living creatures / people from planet. So this would be like where they would meet them. So still alive. Like meet survivors, how they survived, what's going on. And then we would end up, I don't know what we're going to do for our battle. So those are our revelations. So, let's see. So maybe, so they run to the surface, run. Okay, I can meet there. I won't get confused about what I wrote there. So they meet the surface AI. Surface AI does something to draw attention. Okay, so maybe there's something on the planet that they don't want the attention of. Maybe there's like big animals, or like a species that's like very war hungry. Evil hunters. Cool. Now we've established a bad guy because there's evil hunters. I mean, the land or the ship AI and the evil hunters will probably be working together at the end, or like this will be manipulating them to go after them. I haven't decided. I mean, I just started. Okay, so if we know that there's evil AI or there's evil hunters, the consequence is they get stuck. Have to figure out a way out without calling attention. And maybe, you know, these evil hunters are how the planet died. Okay, so uncertainty would be trying to sneak back to the ship. And AI doesn't want to be abandoned. So maybe escalation is a fight scene. I can spell. A fight scene, so they run into a bunch of them and they have to fight. So that's a big fight scene. And they end up deeper in mall. So they end up having to run and they end up being like kind of herded deeper into the mall. Let's see. So our impotence number 1. So I put an impotence here because these are moments where our main characters feel very powerless. And they're really important because they kind of end up leading to the midpoint, and kind of forcing the midpoint, and then once again forcing them to kind of make choices at the end that force them to grow. And I feel like that was the best wording that I could use for it, was impotence. Like these moments where they just absolutely, utterly feel powerless. And I think maybe there's no way back without certain death. Okay. And maybe our next major twist, stumbling onto... So we know that the revelation over here is that there's living people still on the planet. Maybe we stumble onto a more recent abandoned tech something. So something that was more recently abandoned, maybe like a car or a motorcycle, something like along those lines, something that would help them move, but not in a great way. Or maybe it's like weapons, something. They stumble onto something that says that there might still be people alive, or the people that built this place might still be alive. Okay, so choice number 2, major choice number 2, they try to escape via impossible route. And maybe that's end up outside. So maybe they end up outside, like instead of in the shelter of the mall, they end up outside of the mall, and now they are stumbling around in unfamiliar territory. Yeah. Okay, so around near the... I just remember that it's coastal, so they're in a tropical coastal place near the water. Yeah. Into communication with ship. Okay, so they get in communication with their ship. They end up getting back to their ship. And the AIs meet, and they're communicating with each other. So maybe, we learn how planet fell. Basically, like, how did most of the people on this planet end up dying? How did this fall from this high-tech era happen? And then maybe maybe they can't take off leave. And I need to come up with a why. What keeps them there? So they made it back to their ship, but they can't take off. So this will probably be part of why they ended up landing in the first place. Why can't they take off? Okay, so the midpoint is going to have to be them choosing what to do next, basically. Who are they going to be? How is this going to make them proactive? Whatever they need to be able to get off the planet and to survive ending up back in space, they're going to have to decide to go get it. So maybe what they need is they need a special type of fuel, and they landed on this planet because there were signs of a fuel. So they gear up to go get fuel. Cool. So need fuel. Okay, so they gear up to go get the fuel, now knowing that they need weapons and whatnot. So now they're being proactive. At first, they were just kind of landing and looking around and looking for the fuel, but they're more like stuck experiencing what this world has to offer. And now that they know what the world has to offer, they're making a plan. They're getting ready to go. They've decided that they are going to. So gear up. So wait, this should be here. Gear up to go get fuel. Okay, so for this one, I'm going to put a sticky note over the top of it because I can. And instead of that, we are going to do... Stay on there. So for the midpoint, instead of that, we will do like, maybe, they have to decide, call for help from their shitty government and get caught or get themselves off. Off the planet. Okay, there we go. I can figure that out. That's a much better midpoint. Okay, so they decide. So now they're gearing up and they're gonna go get fuel. And consequence would be fight number 1. Actually, no, it would be probably fight number 2? Question mark? Maybe I'd have to look back through here. Because this becomes so big that at some point you have to kind of, you forget what's going on over here. So, yeah, they do, okay, so they fight there. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so they definitely fight there. Fight number 2, I think, is what that one will be. Because they're sneaking around and they're running for the most part, but they're not really fighting. So this is major fight number 2. Like, they go to get fuel and they almost get overwhelmed. Let's see. Impotence number 2. We're going to skip escalation here because I'm not quite sure what after a fight would be an escalation. So maybe impotence would be, can't get to fuel something broken. They're going to have to either abandon it or choose to improvise. Oh, and then they end up running into the living people. So in the process of trying to go around, there we go, they're going to run into the living people. And it's going to be kind of a problem. Okay, so if it's the AI, underlying conflict is the AI. AI learns of survivors. And begs surface AI to set it free to help. So maybe like the surface AI is super helpful, and the ship AI is kind of a bastard. Okay, so choice number 4. So what are they going to choose? So they're going to have to choose to leave these new people, or maybe take advice from these new people about how to get to the fuel, and it's something stupid dangerous. So use stupid dangerous way to get to fuel. Like, not even the surface people say this is like a good idea. It's part of why they're living the way that they're living, is that getting to that fuel is impossible. It's through something dangerous. So maybe it's they have to survive. Since it's on the coast, survive maybe an underwater cave. Okay, so maybe twist number 2. Underwater cave is nesting ground for evil hunters. So maybe these evil hunters are like water creatures that are like amphibians. So they're young, live underwater, and then they come out. I like that idea. So there's some type of amphibian or something like that. So maybe the darkest moments, they get stuck under the water. Someone dies. I don't know who, because I haven't been worried about like my separate characters in this. One of the different things about this type of plotting versus the other type of plotting that I was doing is that this type of plotting is a lot more plot focused than character focused. So when I'm in the writing process, I have to make sure while I'm writing it, but not while I'm plotting it, that each of the decisions have to be muddled up and confused by the character's own who they are and what they are and why they're making this decision to do these things and how they get through these obstacles. It has to be very much about them and their process and what they're going through. I have to make sure to show their inner world, because this is a plot-driven story until I infuse all of these decisions, all of these things with those characters. And everybody likes a character-driven story. I mean, there are some really good plot-driven stories, but a character-driven story is what's going to really make a story emotional and bring in a lot of that depth that we're looking for. So this is a great plot, but in order for it to actually work as a story, it needs the characters infused. So what I would do is I would take note cards of each of these things, and then I would mess around with what character would do what, and then I would write it, and I would try to put as much emotion into it as possible. And yeah, and some of this stuff would probably get changed as I'm going, and very definitely would get changed. I would get to like this, like the end of here, and I would end up replotting, and then I would likely get to the end of here and end up replotting the ending of this as well. Just because things will change as my characters make decisions while I'm writing that I didn't foresee coming. Just a caveat as we're getting close to the end here. Okay, so finding willpower. Okay, so AI from ship. just caused it somehow. So they're gonna have to find the willpower to get out without tech. Help. And they have to sneak into ship. To disable AI again. Okay, so that's making plan. And then I want to say up here for like convergence. So this is where, and I actually have this written down as something else now that I normally use, which is like, so the underlying conflict is kind of either resolved or set aside here. So the underlying conflict is that this AI is set free, and that's kind of part of the battle. So maybe surface AI sides with crew and helps them get fuel. Okay, so the battle would be getting fuel back to ship. And the climax would have to be getting into ship and overcoming ship AI. And so very likely the resolution would be download surface AI onto the ship and escape the planet. There we go. So the only thing in here that I don't have is this right here. So fight number 2. So maybe an escalation would be someone is injured. Okay, so I don't think I'm going to need to move these around. I think I like them exactly where they are. However, let's go through it from beginning to end because me jumping around is kind of chaotic. Okay, so they will land the ship to look for fuel. They go into this abandoned complex. Maybe the signal for the fuel says that it's somewhere near there, so they go into there. They meet the surface AI, and that AI is kind of bat crap crazy. So surface AI, because we've decided that surface AI is a good guy, accidentally does something to draw the attention of the evil hunters. They get stuck and have to figure out a way out without drawing attention. They figure out that this is how this planet died is because of these evil hunters. They sneak back to the ship. And the land AI doesn't want to be abandoned, so it kind of follows them. I don't know how. But maybe that it does something to sabotage them there, and I would have to figure that out while I'm writing. What? Oh, this is a fight scene. Okay, I can see that. Fight. Okay, fight scene. So maybe. Okay, so they're sneaking back to the ship. They don't actually get back to the ship. There we go. That's what it is. Don't make it. Okay, make that clear. So they don't make it to the ship. They're sneaking back. They end up in a fight, and they end up somehow deeper into the mall. There's no way back without certain death. They stumble into a more recently abandoned tech something. So obviously there's still someone around, but they don't really know. They don't see them. They don't know if this is like, they don't know what it is. So they try to escape via impulsive run and end up outside. They're stumbling around near the water, get into communication with their ship. Their AIs meet, so they go as they get back to the ship. The AIs meet. They learn how the planet fell. They can't take off and leave because they didn't get the fuel. So they have to decide: do they, or do they get themselves off the planet? So and they choose to get themselves off the planet. So they gear up to go and get the fuel. And then they end up in fight number 2. Someone gets injured. They can't get to fuel. There's something broken, like the bridge is broken, or like a tunnel's broken, something. So they have to go around. They're leaving. Oh, they find out that the living creatures and people from the planet are still alive. So like whatever creatures created the mall and the tech and all the things. So there's something that's super intelligent. There's a pocket of them that's still alive that explains the tech. So and then the ship AI learns of the survivors and begs the surface AI to set it free so it can help. They use a stupid dangerous way to get to the fuel. But oh yeah, okay, so they have to survive an underwater cave. Aeon ship gets fixed by AI from the land. Underwater cave is what did I is nesting. I can nesting. I can read my own handwriting, I swear. Only I can't. Is the nesting ground for these evil hunters. Maybe they're amphibians. They get stuck under the water. Someone dies. AI from the ship somehow caused this person to die. So maybe there was a malfunction in like their air apparatuses or something like that. Something was turned off by the AI somehow, and one of them dies. They exit without tech help. They sneak into the ship to disable AI again. Oh, they're going to have to sneak into ship. Oh, they have to create the plan. Okay, plan creation. I can read. Surface AI sides with the crew and helps them get fuel. They get the fuel back to the ship. So, yeah. So that's the question that gets asked here. Okay. They have to plan on how to sneak back into the ship and disable the AI. They create the plan. So Surface AI sides with them. They have to battle to get the fuel back to the ship. So this is another fight 3. Major fight 3. Getting to the ship and overwhelming the ship AI. And then the resolution is they download the Surface AI and all of them escape the planet together. Yay! Okay, so that's... I'm a little overwhelmed. That happened very fast. This is how fast I get plotting done with this, and like, it's not a perfect plot. It's going to need some work. If I were actually going to write this, I would need to, take each of these. This is a plot point, so what it would be is like, these would happen pretty fast. They'd be just a couple of scenes for each of these, but then each of these bigger ones would have like 3 or 4 scenes in it. And so, but instead of making a scene list and note cards like I used to do, I would actually just have it be a list that I would work off of. And I would add in scenes as I needed them or as they happened and make notes. So, like, let's say something happens here that changes my plan here. So, I would make notes in my plans here of the changes that I did here. And so it would be like kind of a running document of, okay, here's the headline of what's supposed to happen, writing those scenes. Here's the next major part that's going to happen. And what it would do is, like, let's say we've got each of these scenes. Let's just create a visual diagram here. So each of these scenes, like these plot points, would essentially be like, if I was doing episodic, it would be separated out like this. So this would be episode X, and this is episode Y. If I was doing this as episodic, it would be a build up, and then the climax of this scene plot point would happen here. So like the fight breaks out, the things, like, and then it would kind of, the tension would drop a little bit because they'd have the fight would happen throughout this scene and then kind of drop off, and then the next episode would be another build up of tension, right? This is tension. However, if I was writing this as a story, this would be a chapter. And maybe I would have a chapter in the middle. And maybe I would have a chapter here. And this chapter would end right here. And then the beginning of the next chapter would be kind of the de-escalation of the tension, but the introduction of the new thing that's coming up. So the new catalyst for tension, let's put it that way. So like this is like a question or a revelation, something like that, or a discovery, something that draws in and creates a new, okay, now we do this over here type situation. Anyway, I'm gonna stop talking. That's I'm done. My brain is fried. I'm gonna go actually drink my first cup of coffee of the morning. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please like and subscribe. I will be doing another one of these, I think, next month. And it'll be the episodic serialized. This is more of like a novel. Yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna go. Thanks for watching.